Tattoos are a very common form of art you see in today's society. Adults have them. Some children with parental consent have them. However, this causes a very big problem for some people, especially if they want to go into a high-paying job someday. They might lose the chance to because of this body art and this artistic representation of things they enjoy, things they went through in their life that they overcame and they're proud of, or their achievements. These could be punished by not having good jobs that you are qualified for. And it also can lead to people losing their jobs if they do ever end up getting ink. Tattoos, if anything, are growing in popularity, and yet some businesses and some companies refuse to embrace this change that's coming and instead want to reject it and only keep people who have no ink on their body and just have a plain body, no anything, no expression. And this is a problem because we live in a society where people are getting tattoos. There are a lot of tattoos now. People get them all the time pretty much. And they're very expensive. You can't just get rid of a tattoo forever. Once it's there permanently unless you get it removed, but why would you want to get a piece of art removed after you just spent all that money to put it on? It doesn't make sense to overlook qualification over the quality of what might be on somebody's skin. Yes, if it's inappropriate, it's all deserved, and they should not work in an environment if they have inappropriate tattoos on their body. But if they have harmless tattoos, it should be completely fine. As a matter of fact, there was a poll conducted on a Vault poll in 2007, and the results of this were that about 40% of a generation have at least one tattoo, and the source was found at sundial.csun.edu. This seems to suggest that tattoos are only growing in popularity, and they're not going to go on the decline anytime soon. As a matter of fact, it seems that more and more people are going to keep getting tattoos, and not much is going to stop that progress. Now, having this in mind, it makes you wonder, why are tattoos such a big problem in the workplace? They're popular. Why not just embrace the change? Well, it could be a violation of policies in the business. There are jobs, such as blue-collar jobs, that don't care if one has tattoos. And this could be because tattoos are deemed as unprofessional in some professions, but blue-collar jobs just don't care. And this was found at cd.ua.edu. Blue-collar jobs don't care about the professionalism, unlike other places. And granted, it makes sense if some care about the professionalism of their employees, but tattoos aren't equivalent to how professional or unprofessional one is. And despite the fact that tattoos have been around for hundreds of years and used in many cultures, sourced from the trumpet WLU.org, and are in fact used to represent creativity, it could still lead to a struggle in finding a job or holding a job. You could be fired for having a tattoo or denied employment in the first place. And tattoos may never be accepted in every workplace, and that's something that we all have to come to terms with someday. But there are ways to keep your ink until those days come. There are ways to cover them up. Long sleeve shirts, jewelry. As long as your business allows jewelry to be worn, you should go for it. If hiding your tattoos equates to you getting a job, you should do it. There's an example of a waitress at sundial.edu that uses her bracelets to cover tattoos so that they aren't visible to the public, and so the customers that she's serving can't see them. And another way to cover tattoos is obviously with long sleeve shirts, but that's very dependent on where the tattoo is located on your body. If your company does not allow this, don't just go ahead and wear a long sleeve shirt, because obviously that, they have dress codes, and yes, the dress code against tattoos can be unfair, but You can't just go violating every dress code. That's more likely to get you fired faster. However, it's also important to be honest with your employer. At some point, they're going to find out that you have a tattoo. Whether it's intentional or an accident, where a slip of the wrist and all of a sudden your shirt sleeve reveals that you have a tattoo on your forearm and your employer sees it. Not knowing is probably worse than them knowing, because at least when they have the knowledge of it, it won't be a complete surprise if there is a slip up. While meanwhile, if you don't say anything, it might show that you're hiding something, and that doesn't look good for you when you're trying to stay on your boss's good side and not get fired for, already having body art, which is kind of risky. Tattoos are becoming commonplace. A lot of people have them, but not all employers will prefer tattoos and employees with ink on their bodies, which is very concerning because they choose not to change. Many jobs, luckily, now are lenient on hiring individuals who have tattoos. But it's important to be aware that not all will be like this. There are some companies that are still holding on to the tradition of no ink and no tattoos. And it's not something that will change overnight. And this is all due to the sake of professionalism. Companies that need to be professional and seem professional will have policies against tattoos, and you can't blame them for this. But at the same time, a tattoo should not be what indicates if a person gets employed or not. If you have a tattoo, you may struggle to find employment depending on what you want to go into. So make sure to cover your tattoos when you're going to job applications. If you want to bring it up in a way that's not invasive. Make it seem like it's part of the conversation or part of an interview that you're in. But make sure that the employer is aware that you have it. You can't just blatantly say, I have a tattoo, and that's it. You can't just say it and then not mention it ever again. It's probably best to tell them the kind of tattoo you have so they can determine if it's really an appropriate tattoo. If you have a gun tattooed on your forearm, that's not an appropriate tattoo, but because it's on your forearm, they might not care because you can cover that up. Or if you have it on your forearm, they might not mind as much because it's coverable as long as they allow long sleeves. In short, don't let a tattoo determine the qualification level of an employee, because employees are more than just the body modifications that they make, and tattoos are permanent. It's better to adapt with the times and learn to accept tattoos in the workplace and that they are not unprofessional than to die on your grave and on your hill of living in the past where tattoos were looked down upon and deemed unprofessional, rather than go backwards, evolve with the times, or stay behind and slowly die. That is really the only advice to give to companies who refuse to employ anybody who has a tattoo, because they are gaining popularity, and that's not going to stop. No matter how many company policies you try to bring up about it, it won't change.